On today's episode, what happens when you cross a punk rock attitude, ghost, and medieval times? You get today's guest on GonstFM Off Air. Welcome, ghouls, ghoulettes, and guesties to GonstFM Off Air, the official podcast companion to 66.6 GonstFM, the radio station dedicated to the band Ghost and the wider Gonst community. I'm your host, Richie, aka Papa X, as so lovingly named by all of you Gonstlings. Today I'm sitting down with a really badass illustrator and one of my really good friends in the Ghost community. If you own a t-shirt from Hot Topic, Revolver Magazine, or from Ghost's official merchandise store, chances are you own one of his designs. So everybody out there listening, please welcome today's guest, Jonny Bush. Jonny, how you doing, my friend? Been a long while.
Yeah, I'm doing okay, man.
Yeah.
I'm always happy to be back.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Yeah, it's been a long while since we've done like an actual podcast, because like for those of you out there listening, Jonny was most recently on our Metal Midsommar GonstFM broadcast on Stationhead, which if you missed that, sucks to be you. I'm just kidding. No, if you missed it, please come back. We are doing more radio rituals every month, and we may have guests from time to time, like Jonny. But for those of you that didn't get a chance to tune in, this is kind of an extended portion of his appearance. We're going to talk about Jonny's art, his Patreon account, probably Ghost, music, all that shit. So, with that being said, how has the Patreon been going for you, man?
Yeah, it's been going really well. It's a brilliant, constant thing in my life at the moment. It's like it's a second job, but it's the job that you wake up happy that you're going to, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's going to be, we're kind of like going from strength to strength, really positive feedback from everybody. And they get to give me their ideas as well. People get to keep up with all my other background activities, other bands that I'm working with, and my plans and ideas. And yeah, no, it's going really well. It's going really well at the moment, and I'm happy that I kicked it off. And I'm super, super thankful for everyone who has joined me so far.
Yeah, dude, the art is fantastic. I was looking at most of it a little bit earlier, and it's just the realism of some of the pictures. And like, I think that's what I love the most is like the attention to detail. And then I know that also within the Patreon, you do take personal commissions. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's right. So I post a piece every week for each of the, it's once every 2 weeks for each tier. So if you subscribe to the highest tier, then you effectively get a piece of art every week. But you find yourself, you know, a lot of people message you, I'd love this idea, I'd love that idea. And if it doesn't quite fit in with like the current theme of what I'm doing, it's like, well, I'll open up the commissions. And this is a great way for members of the Patreon to get their own like personal little piece painted. And it's really cool and it's really personal. And sometimes they allow me to post them as extra content on the Patreon for people to take a look at. And it's really, really cool and lovely to kind of have these intimate little conversations about what people want and, you know, what they'd love to see. And then we get to produce it. And it's brilliant. And I think it makes the community stronger, and it makes just for brilliant pieces of artwork.
Yeah, it really does. And like, much like music, you know, if you like, you create playlists for people, like that's kind of like a love letter. And, you know, in musical terms, like, you know, you and I grew up in a generation where like you still made mixtapes and you burned them, you know, on CDs for people and shit like that. But with like art, that is a whole different type of intimacy as far as like getting to know somebody. And it's cool to be able to pick their brain, you know, and see like what do they like seeing, and maybe there's a perspective you haven't seen before, or vice versa. Right. So that's got to be invigorating as an artist, you know, to be able to tap into things maybe you haven't even explored before.
Yeah, absolutely. Quite a lot of the commissions that we get through the Patreon are sort of like the erotic, you know, NSFW ghost content. And that's always really cool because these are kind of like private little ideas that people have that they want to see, but then we can show other members that afterwards, and it's like, oh shit, I never even thought about that. But it's awesome because you get these kind of multiverses of ideas intertwining. So one of the commissions that we had, it was like Papa 2 having some sexy time in a field, but it was like Red Dead Redemption. So cowboys, a horse, you know, a lantern with fireflies, and it was so cool. And I get to kind of tickle and scratch all these little things in my brain that I really love to enjoy and indulging in anyway. And yeah, it's so cool, some of the ideas people have, because I wouldn't get time to draw it for myself, like, unless it was for the Patreon. So it's so sick when you get these ideas through. I'm just like, fuck yeah, yes, let's put a cowboy hat on him.
Yeah, and that's funny too, because like Red Dead, it seems like it wouldn't be a crossover, but goddamn, you can almost do anything with Ghost. And I think that's the fun about that band in particular, as far as doing any kind of artwork. I mean, you can do a lot of crossover with a lot of other artists for sure, but I feel like it's because Ghost has like such goofy characters and such lore behind them, and that also ties into another part of your Patreon that you're doing, which is the medieval papas and the Brothers 4 novel that you were talking to me about on the broadcast about working on.
Absolutely, yeah. So for those who might not know about it yet or haven't seen the paintings, I started a series of medieval inspired papa paintings over on my Instagram, and each painting kind of depicted a medieval fantasy version of a papa, sort of different to what people have probably seen before. And with each illustration there was like an accompanying piece of text, like a little piece of literature that I'd written down, and these were just fun ideas to explore, to kind of add a bit of substance to these paintings. And I'm a fantasy guy. I've written fantasy novels in the past, and I really enjoyed just kind of putting that bit of spice onto these pictures, and people responded really well. So when the Patreon started, I offered up like the other pieces to go with this fantasy set. People responded really well to the kind of like little stories that I put with them. So I thought, I could make a short story out of this. Sure, a novella. So I kind of toyed with the idea, and then we came up with, I came up with a plan for a novel or a novella, and my editor from the Patreon came up with the name, the Brothers 4. She's big into medieval, history, and she knows the shit. And I thought, yeah, that's perfect. So I started this idea for a story, and I kind of looked online. How long is a novella? It's like 70 pages to 100 and something. I don't know. And I was like, yeah, cool. That's an easy project. It's not too strenuous. I can just, each chapter is 10 pages, blah, 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 blah. We can do a story here. But I can't write small. I can't breeze over details. So I started writing, and it's up to 100 pages. I'm just about to start writing the end of the first half. So it's going to be a novel. It's going to be about 200 pages. And it's this story of greed and magic and deception and loss, tragedy, destiny. And it's got a background to each of the papas and their story, and how that links to the second big half of the story. And it's just so fun to write and to sit. And, you've got the established lore, they're brothers, Papa 3 had his head cut off and all this kind of stuff. Right. So you can use all these things, but they just put fun, weird twists on it. And it doesn't matter, because you can take it as it is. You can deny it. It's same characters, different universe. And I'm so excited to get it finished. So that should be hopefully coming out this year. I'm carrying on work with it from Monday. And I've got some time off work, so I'm going to put a lot of time into it. And yeah, you can subscribe to the Patreon to find out updates on it. You can read the first chapter right now, find all paintings of the characters. Yeah, I can't give too much away about the story, because it's, there'll be no surprises left, but it's really cool. And my editor thinks it's really cool, and she's super big on ghost lore as well, so it's awesome. Yeah, really look forward to it.
Yeah, and I can't wait to read it either, dude, because just the little snippets that you were putting on each of the papas, whenever you would post it, like on your Instagram, follow him at Jonny Bush on Instagram, by the way. When you were posting the pictures and you had like the little write-ups underneath them, I thought it was very well thought out. Like, it had time. It wasn't like, oh, here's a picture and here's a bunch of bullshit. Like, there was actual thought and effort put into what could be conveyed by a singular picture, and then like the story that was underneath it. Like, especially for Papa 1, I thought both him and Papa 3 had absolutely fantastic write-ups under them. And Papa 2 and obviously Cardinal Papa 4 had really good write-ups too, but I loved that there was a little more emotional depth put into 1 and 3. Obviously this is public, so it's not, I don't think it's like giving too much away. So like how the thought of how Primo was kind of born, just kind of disfigured or ugly to his dad, and shit like that. So he was a little shunned and like, no, fuck you. We're, just kind of cast aside like, this literal bastard child of mine is just, he doesn't mean shit. And how Papa 3, in a Loki kind of way, was burdened with a glorious purpose to carry the fucking family to heights, that they had.
Spawn,
Exactly, dude. So like that was very fucking cool. And obviously like Papa 2 was written as like this mystical middle child. You know what I mean? Like a typical middle fucking child. So it's really neat, and I can't wait to see how this all expands, because I'm intrigued to see how Papa Nil is written, because there's a lot to do with him, because you have people that are like, yeah, Papa Nil is fucking great. And then you have the other side of Papa Nil where it's like, God, he's kind of a dick. You know what I mean? Like, so there's, a lot of play in there.
Absolutely. So, you summed it up perfectly there. Primo is the firstborn, and he was born like a skinned rabbit, disfigured, not disfigured, just premature. That's where the name Primo comes from in this in the story.
Right.
And he, as soon as he's born, Neil just wants nothing to do with him, really. So he just doesn't love him, doesn't show him any affection. So as a result of this, Primo kind of locks himself away in the towers of the castle. A lot of people probably doesn't even know he exists. He has, over time, through anxiety and depression and stuff, he nervously picks at his hands, so that his hands are all scabbed and scarred. So he would wear leather gloves to hide them whenever he's out. And that's why later on in the story, the brothers all take up to wear leather gloves in respect for the brother. And that's where that comes from in my story. That's why they all wear the leather gloves, never take them off. And yeah, exactly right with Papa 3, with Terzo. He's the poster child. He's the one in the paintings. He's at the head of the parade. He's always away at war. He never fights, but he's always at war, because it's good so people know that the monarchy's fighting for them, kind of thing.
Right.
And he's got a lot on his shoulders, because obviously, as law dictates, the brothers pass away, and like you said, burdened with glorious purpose. Terzo's kind of story, I guess, is just that he goes from this golden child, this lover boy, Casanova that literally everybody loves. So as soon as he takes up the mantle, real life hits him. The seriousness of his new title hits him. I don't want to say much more than that, but yeah. But Nil is written as he's kind of like he is in the videos to a degree. When he's nice, but he's almost like a wolf. He's cunning. There's always a reason for his actions. So if he's being nice, there's a reason for it. And he's always there in the background through every major event. He's there, and it's really cool. And they all play such a big part in the story. Not one character is a layaway character. Every single chapter per Papa is thought out in terms of how it affects the story. I'm very excited. It's so cool.
Even just hearing you talk about it, I was listening in and just thinking about all the parallels. How Papa 1 would lock himself away in the tower, right? And nobody knew who he was, that he existed, or literally any of that stuff, right? And that kind of ties into the band's lore, where Papa 1, when you go kind of dig to the band's history, you don't see much of him, because there's really not much of him, because, there wasn't really, quote, lore when Ghost first started. And then when Papa 2 had come around, then, okay, we're developing a little bit more of it. But by the time Papa 3, as a character, debuted in the Ghost fandom, or the Ghost lore, respectively, he was the guy that won the Grammy Award. He was the leader of the band that took them to more mainstream. He was the guy that began making Ghost a household name. So this all fucking ties in really well with how they're written in this medieval story. So it's really neat looking at the parallels and looking at the influence and the subtleties at the same time, because some of it's on the nose and then some of it's not so on the nose. So I really dig that.
Thank you. No, that's you kind of spot on. I'm glad that these kind of like little ideas resonate in that way. You know, people. I want people to kind of go, oh yeah, that's kind of like that. Oh, that's kind of like that. Oh, that could be, and that's. You know, that was it. I mean, I don't think I wrote it in, but originally one of the things that I was going to write in for Primo's character was that, you know, when he finally did become Papa in the story, he was clumsy because of, he's old when he becomes Papa in the story, he's very late, and he was going to be clumsy and fall off the stage like he did quite a lot. And, you know, but I don't think I wrote that in, but the characters in the story, they perform a ritual once a month where they go out and it's basically like a public speaking event for the people of the kingdom. And yeah, that was all of it. It ties in, whether it was intentional or not. I think it's there in the back of my brain. But yeah, exactly that. Papa 2 he's sort of like, oh, what are they called? The princes in England, you know, King William and that, you know, they hold up the family traditions because they have to. That's what Papa 2 is like. He takes no pleasure in it, but he's like, this is what the family is. This is what we have to do. And then you've got Papa 3 having sex with everybody in the city because that's just who he is. People know him.
Yeah, they definitely know him. He's a little fucking gremlin is what he is.
Yeah.
I fucking love that shit. It's so perfect, man. Like Papa 3 is 100% the playboy of the group. Yeah, I fucking love it. And I like that he was purposely drawn as the handsome motherfucker of the three, you know, of the first three brothers. That's great.
Absolutely, yeah. He was I don't know why I chose to draw him young for that one, but I guess I just wanted to show a really soft side to him. And because everyone like kind of swoons over him, I know they do to every Papa, but it just fit in with the narrative that he's like this young, naive kid, basically. I mean, he's you know, I don't know how old he's in the story, he's late 20s, maybe early 30s, but it's all kind of, again, really, really quick. Like his crowning, his coronation, it comes at a time when he doesn't need it, and yeah, he goes very quickly from the soft-skinned Casanova that you see in the picture to Papa 3. You know, like stress ravages him, and he becomes the sort of Bela Lugosi-faced, you know, ruler to follow in the footsteps of his family. Yeah,
it definitely translates well. And also ties in very well with the fact that as you and I are recording this, it's actually the 6th anniversary of the Prequel album, which took place in medieval times. So,
well, there you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's why I love the theme, dude, because, you know, it's something that Ghost kind of like dipped their toes in, but I feel like this is much more of a like, fuck it, we're going to cannonball. You know, we're going to just dive right in and just make a big splash with this. So I really have a lot of high hopes for this novella, and just I'm looking forward to the rest of the story, man.
Yeah, it's super fun. Like there's tons and tons of fan references, lore references. There's song lyrics worked into conversation. You know, whether we can eventually do that, or I'm going to have to replace them, you know, for whatever reason. But no, it's so cool, and the rats thing is a big part of it. They're kind of an omen to someone's arrival in the second half of the story, and it's cool, man. You know, I fantasy has been my thing since I was a kid, and it's so cool to just write these characters differently. But I guess they're still true to the characters that they present as and how people perceive them. Just they've got, you know, knight's armor and swords and syphilis.
Oh shit. And you know what's cool is like a lot of people get wrapped up in now granted, fantasy and horror kind of go hand in hand more often than they do not. However, I think people kind of get lost in the horror aspect of Ghost, and they don't take time to really like delve into the fantasy side of it. What were some of the things like growing up that got you into fantasy? Like, be it comic books, or like, did you watch movies that were like, set in medieval times, or just anything that had to do with like wizards and, sorcery and shit like that? What were some of your big influences in that regard? Because it seems like you've just got a fucking vast knowledge of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, man. Like, it's just, that was my thing, sword and sorcery in whatever iteration it was. So, Lord of the Rings was big for me. I used to read these series of books called The Edge Chronicles, written by Paul Stewart and illustrated by Chris Riddell, who's a really good UK illustrator, and Paul Stewart's an amazing author. Anything like that, I was always into my superheroes. I'd make sure my dad recorded Marvel Action Hour on a VHS tape while I was at school. Anything, Warhammer was big for me. Gargoyles I grew up on. Just everything, as much as I could absorb. Played World of Warcraft for years, still kind of go on it every so often. Just my brain goes blank, but everything and anything. I was a kid, I used to, action figures were my thing. Get the fantasy action figures of whatever it was, whether it was from a popular thing or just something from like your equivalent of the dollar store, just like, whatever it was, and just sit and play with them and make stories with them. And I was always drawing and creating, and it's never got boring for me. Dude, it's always just been a pleasure.
The same here with me, because I was a big Batman and Spider-Man guy. I still am. I love Batman. I love Spider-Man so fucking much. I watch those a lot. Gargoyles just brought back an entire core memory for me, dude, because when my family's video store was still open, we actually got because I don't know if you knew this or not, but the first, I think, 3 episodes of Gargoyles was actually collected into a movie that got released as the pilot. It was like, I think it was like an hour and 10 minutes or something. It was just called Gargoyles the movie before it was ever a series. God damn, dude. And it was crazy how dark it was supposed to be at first. Like, it wasn't ever supposed to be as lighthearted as it became like later on, but it was a fucking good concept. And anybody out there listening, again, if you go to Jonny's art website, there's actually a really great fucking drawing of Goliath on there. And holy fuck, dude, I remember seeing that out of everything else, being like, oh, this is my dude. Like, this guy and I are going to get along so fucking great. It's like, these are my fucking people. I grew up on this shit. God, I used to do the same thing with my action figures though too. But me and my friend would take our old VHS camcorder and we would make movies with these fucking action figures. Nice. Yeah, we would just make little fucking stupid movies with them. We would just take everything we had. I had everything from like Marvel figures to like, I don't know if you remember these Micro Machine things. They were called Z-Bots. Like, those were around. We had, we took all of our Jurassic Park action figures and like made the big ass like command center and had like this. Yeah. I know I'm going off on a big fucking tangent here, but like we did this thing with. No, it's good. Yeah, we did this thing with our Star Trek spaceships where we would have them go back in time, but the time machine got fucked up and dropped them in the Cretaceous period and then like the Jurassic period, and they were getting fucking mauled by dinosaurs and all this other shit. I was like, oh, we should do this as a movie. And then that fucking movie 65 just came out recently with Adam Driver, and I was like, God damn it, that's the movie I always wanted to fucking make. So not all of your, I'm saying this to say this to people out there listening, not all of your ideas are stupid. No ideas to me are inherently dumb. I think there is a good basis for any idea that you have, so long as it is not fucking hurting anybody. So the thing is, be creative. Exactly.
Just fucking do it, man. It's the best thing. Just do, even if there's no no gain from it. Just do it because it makes you happy.
Yeah, like I have a ton of like papers, from those days like that. I gotta find them, but I have them in folders that I've collected from over the years. And even as a kid, I was just writing like, oh, this would be a fun idea for a story, and it was like 2 paragraphs of just ideas. And I wish I still had them readily available. I know they're in storage somewhere probably, but don't stop your creative juices in your brain. Whatever it is out there, like, even if you feel like you can't apply it just yet, fucking hang on to that shit, because you never know, like your time will come.
Yeah, exactly. It's like with the novel. I don't know how big it's going to end up, but it's going to be over 200 pages. It's going to be a fully fledged big book. My editor, Rhiannon, was saying, would we be open to the idea of putting it to Global Merch or to Ghost to see if it's something that they'd want to sell if they thought it was good?
Bro.
But as I said, I don't know. I don't know how those, if that's kind of something that they'd want, because I know how specific he is about things. You know, I don't think it would be something he'd want anyone to go, oh, is that gospel then? You know, is that
right
what you believe? You know, so, but if not, I'll just do it as I'm going to do it, which is just release it, physical copies, digital copies. Either way, it'll be out there in one way or another.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, because and then that's the thing is like, if he did sign off on it and he didn't want anybody to take it as like canon, really, like story, like legit canon, you could just put a subtitle underneath it that, you know, said something like, I don't know, Ghost from a medieval perspective. And it's not, you know, it's nothing to fucking do with what's happening now. They could even do it that way. Either way, that's what I forgot to ask you. I think the last time we were just talking, not even for this, just talking to each other. Were you planning on doing like paperback, like making like a full paperback novel or like a hardcover edition or anything like that?
Yeah. So this is 100% set in stone. This is going to happen. So it's going to be released digitally, like for Kindle ebooks, but it's also going to be a physical paperback. There's going to be physical copies, signed copies, you know, ones with bookmarks. If the response is good, I might do sort of like almost like a Kickstarter kind of thing for some special edition hardback things, you know, with like a silk ribbon inside it for the bookmark, all that kind of stuff. But it just depends on the response from it, because it's really, really hard to gauge interest, like real interest in something that you want to sell. Because I found, like, you know, if you put something online that people kind of gel with and really like, you usually find about 1% of people will actually buy something, well, you know, part money with something for something. So I'll do it as is, and then if it goes well, I'll look at putting some really nice special editions out. But yeah. I would like one personally, so I'm sure we can make it happen either way.
Yeah, no shit, dude. Like I'm not gonna lie, like that's a big thing for me. Is like I always will get a paperback copy of something to read, and then my hardback is to collect. Like I always do that. That's people are like, why you spend? Dude, fuck, I don't give a shit. You know, like if it's good, I fucking want to keep it pristine. Dude, this is fucking awesome. And I like anybody out there listening, like absolutely dig into this, because, you know, as a person that grew up reading graphic novels over comic books, which is it's the same thing. It's weird to say like comic books and graphic novels, because they're both kind of one and the same, but they're also kind of not. Graphic novels are much more wordy, much more collected, much, you know, like a thicker read than just like a quick thumb through of a comic story. But then you also have like the novella aspect, so like you're getting depths of story. And I'm not trying to speak for you, but I would assume that some pages would have some of this artwork within them, correct?
Yeah, so originally I just planned to have the paintings that I'd put online. So on my Instagram, you can see Papa 1 through to Papa 4, not including the Cardinal. But then on my Patreon, you can see Cardinal, Imperator, the Ghouls, Nil, and you can also now see Papa 3 riding horseback with his shirt open, which is a scene in the book. So originally I planned just to have the Papa paintings as like next to the start of the chapters for like the accompanying Papa.
Right.
But now where I've got sort of time, I guess, where I can create more paintings from the novel, I may well add those into chapters here and there, just to kind of, you know, something to look at as you're flicking through. Like, oh yeah, that's that from that scene. And I think that could be quite nice.
That's kind of the idea I had too, where it was like the paintings would be like an introduction to the chapter and all that other stuff. God damn. So
yeah, would
you think fourth quarter of this year you kind of aiming for? Or
so when I get writing, I really get stuck into it. I would. It's always tricky because literally everything I fucking do in my life that's about producing something, it always falls towards the end of the year. Just, I think, you know, when I finally get my head into something and I go to release, it's always the end of the year, and it's always a shit time because people are worrying about Christmas and, you know, blah blah blah. But yeah, right now it's looking towards the end of the year. So hopefully, if I can get things moving quickly, I don't know, even if I get things moving really quickly, it could be the next couple of months. If I really just get my head down, get the revisions made, get everything sorted out. But yeah, most likely towards the end of the year. And there'll be a part of the Patreon, which will be it'll be a certain month. I'm not sure which yet, but I'll pick it and I'll advertise it. Which is if you subscribe to the Patreon for that month, or if you're already subscribed. Like obviously, it don't matter if you're already subscribed. But anyone who subscribes to the Patreon in whatever month it is I pick, you'll get your name in the back of the novel as well, in both physical and digital releases. So that's, something nice to look at.
Fuck yeah, dude. So everybody out there listening, it is either the ritual or the cursed tier. So subscribe today, not tomorrow. Go do it today. In fact, pause this podcast and be sure to come back, actually. Pause this motherfucker, go to the show notes below, click the link, and sign the fuck up. So you can get your name in this book and look at a ton of fucking badass art. Dude, what have you been listening to lately, musically? Have you come across any kind of new bands or anything like that of any interest? Because I've got a couple I want to send your way.
Yeah, no, I've my music endeavors have been limited recently. If I'm working, I just kind of tend to stick on the old reliables.
Sure.
Because I know what it's going to be. One band that I've just stuck on the last few nights, and I've never really listened to them apart from like one song, is Avatar.
Bro, get the fuck out of here. Oh shit. Okay. I saw Avatar open for fucking Seven Dust in 2014 in a fucking 250 person packed club in Lafayette, Louisiana, and it was the coolest fucking shit I've ever seen, and that was the first time I'd ever heard of them. They're so good.
Yeah, it's like, a few people I know listen to them and are big on them, and I don't know. It's not that I've looked at them and gone, this ain't going to be for me. I've just never got around to listening to it. And then I heard that song, "The Dirt I'm Buried In," and I thought that was just really sick. And then I've just put them on in the background while I've been working like on some album covers recently, and I was just like, yeah, shit, this is really cool. I like, some of it's heavy, some of it's not, some of it's like a bit tongue in cheek and silly. I like it. Yeah. So yeah, Avatar is what I've been experimenting with.
Yeah, they've got a fucking good catalog of stuff too, and I couldn't believe, like, whenever I did listen to them, I was like, okay, well, I hope I hear more from them. And here we are, like almost 11 years later, and they're still going. And then I think this year is the year that I found out they were from Sweden. I was like, okay, so Sweden just has a bunch of fucking cool music. So yeah. But there's a band that I recently discovered that I think you might like, and I think anybody else out there listening might like. They're called The Sun's Journey Through the Night. Have you ever heard of them?
Never heard of them.
Yeah, okay, so it's this like death metal, black metal band, and it's crazy because like the production, it sounds ambient. Like if it would be weird to say like, oh, death metal band or a black metal band doing like purposefully ambient production on their stuff, but it's kind of made to come across like a giant wall of fucking noise. And when I say noise, I don't mean like it's inaudible. I mean that like it's a fucking onslaught. I can't really describe it. Like you would have to listen to it. Like they got an album out called Wordless, and there's a song called Abolishing Consciousness. That's the one that pulled me in for this band. So the Sun's,
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, The Sun's Journey Through the Night. In fact, I'll send it to you when we're done here. Like it's pretty fucking good. And then there's another group, Sonja, which I've actually played a couple of their tracks on the radio show before. I've played Nylon Nights and Moans from the Chapel, but they have an album called Loud Arriver, and they were really good too. It's rock metal, but it's like, I think of the two bands I just mentioned, they're probably the most accessible in terms of friendly to the ear. It's like The Sun's Journey Through the Night is very much acquired, but I feel like with the shit that you and I listen to, like I know you'll like it a lot. Yeah. And Sonja is really fucking good too. So if anybody out there wants to check them out,
man, I'll take a listen.
Fuck yeah. And if anybody out there wants to listen, fucking I'll have links for them in the show notes too. So like Apple and Spotify, check them out. That's pretty much what I've been listening to, man. Outside of just planning for the radio station stuff, I've been just kind of checking out other bands that I used to do that thing where I would see shit come across, like we discussed before. I would see shit come across. I'm like, man, fuck no, I don't want to fucking listen to this, because the old reliables are what gets me through my day. But the more I started doing this radio thing, dude, I started checking out more bands and giving more bands chances, because there was some kind of news article I read a while back where they're like, oh, you really start to stop taking in like new things by the time you hit like, I don't know, 30, 34 or some shit. And I was like, I don't want to be that guy. You know, I was like, maybe I should really fucking like keep opening my ears up for new shit. Because, God, as we get older, the bands that we grew up on are fucking either retiring or dying.
Yeah, I just exactly what you're saying there. Like, you know, by the time you hit 34, like I'm 34 this year, and I don't know, like you just the second you see a new band, you're just like, nah, this isn't this band. This isn't the band that I like. This is, you know, and I just don't give them a chance. I think deep down in my subconscious, I know the things that tickle me straight away. And it's like when I read a book, if I'm not hooked in for like 30 pages, I'm just going to put it down. I won't even bother looking at it again.
Bro, same.
Yeah, so I think unless something hits me straight away to make me go, I'll check it out, I don't bother. But then again, I don't really have any avenues where new music just comes in front of me. You know, I don't listen to the radio. I only listen to music on my phone or on my computer, and it's just what I search for. So I don't, unless it's in like a weird YouTube playlist, which is where Wildlife popped up, I never see anything new. And at the same time, a part of me like isn't that bothered because I've got the things that I like. But, it would be good to find something new that I don't hate.
Yeah, dude, because like I've listened to some of the newer bands. Like I can send you all these too, but like some of the bands that I've come across recently were like Dogma and Chanter. I know Twin Temple's been around and they've toured with Ghost before, and I really just started as of like earlier this year, really kind of digging into their stuff more, and I really like it. It's very like doo-wop and like different, you know. So that's what I like about it. It reminds me of like classic kind of music, but with a modern twist. It's fucking great. And then there's another group out called Green Lung that is so goddamn good. I wish everybody would fucking give those guys a chance and talk about them more.
Yeah, I've got a friend who's big into them. I've never heard them, but I've got a friend that's always singing their praises on Facebook and that.
Yeah, they're fucking good. Uncle Acid and the Deadbeats are actually really good too. Baroness is fucking awesome. Baroness was kind of around the time that Mastodon was, you know, well, Mastodon's still around, but I would always hear Mastodon and Baroness like talked about in the same, you know, conversations.
Right.
And I like Mastodon, okay, but I think Baroness is the better of the two bands. Like they have that, they got a fucking raw sound and they're good. So yeah, if you hear names out there of these bands and you've never heard of them, fucking check them out. They're fantastic groups.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, outside of the Patreon and, you know, music and stuff, is there any other like project that has caught your attention, like from an artist that, you know, you're trying to like get merch done for? Like, I know you talked about, Rob Zombie was one recently that you worked with, and, Ozzy, like you're still waiting on a couple of Ozzy approvals, I think too.
Yeah, man. So tons of approvals, probably things I can't even remember anymore. But it's quite quiet on the Western Front at the moment. You know, I still do my usual things for Wednesday 13 as and when he needs them. But where he's just kind of touring so extensively at the moment, there's nothing that needs to be done other than like tour poster amendments. But he's gearing up for a new album soon. So, you know, I'll be doing the artwork and the promotion and the merchandise for that. So that'll be really exciting. So if you don't follow Wednesday 13 out there, everyone go and follow him, go and add him on Instagram, check out all his music. If you love horror movies and just snotty nose rock metal, go and check it out. But no, there's a few bands that I've kind of looked at and you know, I've said to myself, just do something, like produce some work and send it to them, because that's how I got started with Wednesday and Ghost. I should probably submit some new stuff for Ghost, but where I'm so busy with like the book and the Patreon stuff, I'm kind of satisfied with my workload at the moment. I'm still taking on bits and bobs, but I'd love to do work for a musician called Jonathan Hulton, who, if you haven't experienced him, go and check him out. He's like, it's kind of like just him and a guitar, and it's very folky, sad, melodic. It's just awesome. He used to be in a band called Tribulation. I would love to do work for him, but he does all of his own music videos. He animates them and draws them all. So it's like, I don't know. I don't think you approach someone who does it themselves. So I'll just have to sit back and enjoy the music. I can't. No, again, like bands like Wildlife, I'd love to produce work for, but they don't really do much in the way of the work that I produce. It's kind of just like photos of them and stuff. But you know, I'll extend the branch at some point, I'm sure. But other than that, no, it's quite quiet at the moment. I don't want to dip my toes in too many things, you know, because like the book stuff is. I've got to keep focused on it, because if I don't, I'll forget about it or I'll trail off and it'll never get done. So I just need to just take a few months out from big band stuff and focus on this, because it's a passion project more than anything.
Yeah, and the big bands always be there, dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And besides, like after the Goovy, as we're all calling it nowadays, after Right Here, Right Now, and more lore is released, and as Ghost trails on into later 2024, and then in the first quarter of 2025, I am almost positive there's going to be plenty of inspiration there to go back to what brought you to the dance outside of Wednesday 13 and a couple of other artists. So yeah, never fear. There's more Jonny Bush.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah, I guarantee the second that movie is released and we've seen it, the kind of artists in the circuit will all just be like, oh.
Yep. Their Global Merge Services is about to have their inboxes flooded.
Yeah. So we're just waiting for those little snippets of what could be, and then we'll be on it.
Fuck yeah. Well, shit, yeah. Jonny, I appreciate you coming to hang out with me and doing all this, man. It's been a pleasure. Like, we haven't had you on a podcast since my old show, Super Media Bros, back in January. You've come onto the radio station and brought some tunes for everybody to listen to. This is the first time, I say sadly, but like I'm happy that like we're finally doing it. But it's like the first time you've come on to the GonstFM Off Air program, and I know we'll have you back on in the future. You're fucking extremely adored by myself and the lot of this community, and we thank you very much for literally everything that you do. Everybody out there, please subscribe to his Patreon.
Catch me if you can. I'm around.
and by all accounts, that Bonnie Jush guy is a fraud. Don't listen to him.
It's a piece of shit.
Yeah,
absolute piece of shit. Don't have him on your program, because he'll just talk shit about me.
Yeah, not at all. And absolutely do not seek out and follow Bonnie Jush on Facebook. Like, do not seek out and follow Bonnie Jush.
Yeah. Don't feed his ego.
Oh, shit. Well, dude, until next time, my friend, take care of yourself.
You too, dude. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure. And take care, everyone. Thank you.
Anytime, my friend. And hey, everybody out there listening, if you want to follow Jonny, I'll have links to all of his social media handles in the show notes below, as well as his official website and his My Shopify store. For past, present, and future episodes of GonstFM Off Air, you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. You can leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. You can leave a rating and comment on individual episodes on Spotify. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, leave a comment below, leave a like on the video, consider subscribing to the channel, and if you do subscribe to the channel, click the bell for notifications so you don't miss any episodes. If you would like to attend one of our monthly GonstFM Station Head radio rituals, if you would like to buy official GonstFM merchandise, I might add, designed by today's guest, Jonny Bush, or if you would like to join the official GonstFM Facebook group, GonstFam, all of this can be found in the show notes below. And so, my dearest Gonslings, that brings today's episode to a close. Some of you I will see in Internet Land, and the rest of you I will see in GonstFam. Take care of yourselves, and remember, until next time, in Gonst, we trounced. I'm Richie. I'll see you next time.